Hello and welcome to a new episode of Readings That Heal with me, Marissa of Marissa Moments. This is where you will be triggered into your awakening and then your connection. Now, when I say connection, sure, we're talking divine connections external to yourself, but we're mainly talking about connection back to source, connection back to self, recognizing the divinity within, recognizing your intuitive guidance system, recognizing the power that you always held the entire time that may have been triggered, traumatized, or programmed out of you. So we are getting right back to that place in space. But however, this podcast does come with a warning. Do understand that this is about divine accountability and being able to look at yourself in the mirror, doing the shadow work, taking accountability, like I said, and then moving on from there as it resonates. So if this does not sound like some place that you are ready to visit, then I will give you a moment to exit the room with love. Okay, so this is my first time doing a live episode, but I felt it really charged up in my spirit. And the new format that I'm taking is a word with Marissa, right? So I'm receiving divine downloads of a singular word that we need to expand upon and focus on. And right now, that word is change, right? I need you to hear me. I need you to receive me, because this might be about my moments, but this is about your life. Okay. Now we're talking change. Now, that includes the notion of evolution. So what Spirit, God, Gaia, ancestors, angels, and saints are putting on my heart right now is that we need to change. We need to embrace change even more, right? Because we often say that we want to do certain things. We want to be able to walk amongst different groups and associations and things like that, but we're not willing to change, right? There's old sayings that are out there that in terms of stuck in our ways, or you know what, listen, I've gotten to a certain age where I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. Right. And that's fine to a certain extent. However, we can't have that expectation of change, of evolution, of ascension, of being able to walk amongst different people, surroundings, groups, atmospheres. How many ways can I say the same thing if we are not even capable or even desire any type of change, right? Sometimes here's a hood notion, right? Oh, they done changed. They done changed, right? And that has a negative connotation because the things that have been programmed into us in that type of environment is that if you change, that means you're different. That means you bougie. That means you think you're better than. That means all of these different negative connotations that are false programming, right? False programming to keep us trapped and traumatized in a space and place that we no longer feel aligned with intuitively and divinely. Yet because of the fact that, listen, my mom did it, my dad did it, my grandma and grandpa did it, we feel like we have to stay in that place and space, whether it be out of respect is what I receive, or out of fear. Regardless of that reason that you feel like you cannot change, that is keeping you stuck, right? The word is change. That is what we need to start embracing, right? Whether it be this podcast format, whether it be the way that you wear your hair, whether it be the way that you dress, speak, who you associate with, whatever it is, you have to embrace the notion of change if you wish and desire and crave change in your life, right? You can't expect different outcomes with the same output, right? If I continue to do the same thing over and over and expect different results, we already know what that is. That's called insanity. So what God is saying and what a Spirit is putting on my heart to share with you is that you have to get into alignment with change. We keep comparing ourselves to other people. Listen, I understand, because when I say we, I mean we. This is not, and I am no exception to this rule, right? I get frustrated. I'm looking at other people's streams and what they're putting out there, and I'm seeing all their likes and all that type of stuff. And I'm saying, you know what? Why? Why, God? I'm putting out stuff, and this is invalid information. I know this is coming directly from you, but why am I not receiving the same type of output and same type of outcome? But that's because I am unwilling to change at that point. I want to put all that blame and shame on everybody else, on all the things external to me. And I'm not taking ownership for the fact that I can be in control of my own destiny and I can take on the notion of change. What I want to do is already within me, right? That's me doing these live streams instead of just recording because I'm afraid of how it might come out. I'm afraid that I might trip on my words or something like that, or somebody might take what I say the wrong way, God forbid, and then cancel me, right? That's me getting in my own way, right? What are you doing that you are getting in your own way that is preventing you from being able to step into that discomfort of change? Now, I know you've heard the notion of everything that we want is on the other side of fear, comfort, all of those things. It's the same notion. It's said 1,000,002 different ways, right? And the reason why we keep hearing that same notion is because God is trying to speak to us, but we keep pushing it off. We might wear it on a t-shirt. We might post it on our social media. We might even have a conversation about it, but do we apply it, right? To know something and to do something are two totally different things. What are we doing to impact that change? What are we doing to be the change that we wish to see? Now, let's talk about generational curses, right? Because this is also involving change, the notion of change. You didn't like how your parents spoke to you. You didn't like how they treated you, but then you catch yourself doing the same thing to your children now. And even if you don't have kids, maybe you're doing it to the neighborhood kids. Maybe you're doing it to a child that you encounter on the streets, right? Maybe you're talking to them any type of way and you didn't like it when it happened to you, but there you go. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. That is your opportunity for change. And change is at the root of evolution, right? In order to evolve, we have to be ready, willing, and able to change. Now, I did mention early on that this podcast is about being triggered. This podcast is about taking divine accountability, right? You have to be willing to change. We surround ourselves with the same people doing the same things, all that type of stuff, and then have conversations within that same little circle and bubble of how we want to do this and how we want to do that. But then we're not ready, willing, and able to put in the work for that change, at least not the real work. Yeah, we might do surface work. We might post on social media. Yeah, we might make a few phone calls and things like that. But how much are we really changing? Because here's the thing, right? Here's what Spirit's putting on my heart to share with you. If we're not really willing to change ourselves. And I'm talking about deep within. I'm talking about deep within. I'm not talking about just our clothes. Yeah, sure, that could be a part of it. But I'm talking about really, truly deep within who we are as an individual. Then we can't have that expectation of that external change as well. Because we're going to be placed in new environments and new opportunities. And we have that same mentality of what I receive is almost like, Spirit, give me the word. It's almost like, oh my goodness, you feel like entitlement. Thank you, Spirit. Good Lord. I thought he was going to make me wait. So you have that sense of entitlement, right? Regardless of how I am, I expect to receive this, that, and the other. But what God is saying is that no, no, son, daughter, sister, brother. You cannot have that expectation. I mean, you can have that expectation, but then watch your reality in your external world remain the same. What Spirit is saying is that you have to reassess things, not only the external, but the internal as well. Who are you having conversations with, and what type of conversations, what do those conversations look like and sound like? Because if you're talking about the same things over and over, talking about how AI is taking over, or talking about how you can't do this or how you can't do that, or every time you try and all that type of stuff, instead of giving solutions, you're focused on the problems, then guess what? That's all you're going to have, because you're not ready, willing, and able to change. In order to change your environment, you have to change yourself, right? I can't, listen, let me tell you. So I started off, I grew up in the hood. I did. I grew up in the hood. And then it felt like once I got out on my own, I moved almost every 3 years. It felt like 3 has been my claim to fame lucky number, right? Every 3 years we have moved. And you want to know something about those moves? Each time we've ascended to a higher state of being. Now, I'm not bragging or anything like that, but I am speaking truth, because you have to understand my moments as they relate to your reality and your life and your potential, right? I'm not saying I'm the end all be all or anything like that, but you have to understand and get this word in your spirit. We're talking about change, right? We're talking about evolution, right? And each time I can recall every single place that I would think about moving into, it cost a little bit more than the last, but it was a little bit bigger too. And I would be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm barely making it, Lord. What am I going to do? Right? And so then I would find myself looking at numbers, crunching numbers and figuring like, if maybe I don't go to the restaurant as much, or maybe if I don't do that, then I can make it work. I can make it work. And it would be a stretch. Let me tell you, a stretch. We're talking ramen noodle stretch, right? We're talking 25-cent packs. Now, that's no blame or shame or anything on ramen noodles, because we still got some in the pantry to this day, right? But what I am talking about is the fact that I had to change my mindset. I had to change my mentality, and I had to change how I saw myself as far as my capabilities in order to ascend to that next level. Right? Whether it be just a couple of extra square feet or maybe an extra bathroom or whatever it was something that I had really wanted. So I had to stretch myself. I could no longer be in that same mindset and swear that, I'm going to ascend, right? Now we are blessed to live in this big house, right? Now, again, not a brag. But, before we signed the paperwork on this house, we sat down and we crunched numbers and we looked at everything. And I was just like, oh, my stomach hurt, right? Oh, my God, what are we doing? What are we doing? I thought about, even when we toured the house, I remember one of the realtors was like, well, who's going to clean all these bathrooms, right? And in my mind, that got set in there. And I was like, oh, who is going to clean all these bathrooms? Oh, my God, what are we going to do? What are we doing? And you want to know what happened? We stepped out on faith. We said yes to it in faith, and we adapted to that change. We evolved, we ascended, because in order to have more, then we have to be more. We have to do more. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because this is about change. You staying stuck because you're sitting in fear. You feel like that you want to do something bigger and better, or however that looks for you. It doesn't matter. Take it as it resonates. But then you're allowing fear to dictate where you are and keep you stuck in that box. You're not ready, willing, and able to put in the necessary work. You're not willing to put in those sacrifices, to make those different choices, to even, dare I say, now catch this, hurt somebody's feelings, right? Now, I'm not talking about being mean intentionally, but sometimes, you're going to hurt people's feelings because you recognize that they are no longer conducive to the place and space where you're trying to go. They were great for the last season, but right now, listen, I need you to hear me, because if I were to wear the same clothes that I wear for summertime in the winter, then odds are good I'm a freeze, right? And when you freeze, you stuck. You are stuck. And after a while, you cease to exist, right? So God is saying that the seasons are changing. So you need to change along with it. You need to evolve with it. You see that winter is coming. You see that the seasons are changing, yet you still got your summertime wardrobe. I need you to hear me. I need you to hear me, because this message is for you. You keep rocking that same summertime wardrobe and then complaining that you can't feel your toes, right? That's because God, and meanwhile, God has put a thrift store in front of you. Now, I'm not even talking about a regular store. I'm not talking about Neiman Marcus or anything like that. No, there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to thrift personally. I do, because I just don't find the value in buying brand new clothes when I can get perfectly good stuff at the thrift store. But that's a whole nother word, right? We're talking about change. Now, God has basically put that proverbial thrift store right in front of you, and yet you still talking about, oh, my arms are cold. You over there with the shivers, shivering, right? Because you refuse to step into that store, even though God just gave you some money on your Cash App, right? God just gave you, somebody just sowed a seed on Venmo, right? You just got your paycheck, but instead, maybe I want to go out and get something to eat. Meanwhile, you're freezing because you're not willing to change. Listen, I'm not going to keep going on and on, even though Lord knows I could, because God just be speaking through me. But I need you to hear me, because this isn't about me saying a good word to you. This isn't about you hearing this podcast and being like, oh, that felt good. That was good, right? No, this is about the application, because again, to know something and to do something are two totally different things. So what you need to do is have an assessment. What part of my life am I refusing to change? While I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to do these things, but what is God telling me that I need to do in order to get there that I'm refusing? What person do you continuously talk to that you feel is putting a damper on your spirit every single time? And even when you make mention, they're like, but anyway, right? That but anyway is saying that you need to change. I'm not saying you need to wipe out everybody who you have around you, but you need to make that assessment, because listen, I need you to hear me. The people that you surround yourself are a direct reflection of where you want to go and where you will be going. No, I'm not saying that you got to kick everybody to the curb. I'm not saying that you can't be friends with people who are in the struggle. But what I am saying that when you have that flame and that fire of growth and evolution and achievement, then you need to follow that. And you have to be obedient, right? Because opportunities will present themselves, but they present themselves in weird ways, right? You're never going to necessarily know. Sometimes you will, but most times you won't. So it's going to come in the opportunity of going out to lunch with people that you may not know. You know, that notion of who's going to be there, right? You get an invitation. Well, who all's going to be there, right? I know you've done it. I've done it too. Well, who's going to be there? Because I can't get along with, XYZ person. I can't deal with them. Meanwhile, the person who is going to put capital into your project is going to be there too. But you're so focused on the person that you don't want to be around that you're not even open to that opportunity of evolution, of change. I need you to hear me, because change is a possibility for all of us. Evolution, ascension, all of that is an opportunity for all of us, but we have to be ready, willing, and able to put in the work and get outside of ourselves, put our ego to the side. I'm not going because so-and-so is going. Well, okay, there goes your blessing, because you're not willing to change, because you're stuck in your ways, because you're not open to doing new things or trying new things, right? I don't care if that looks like going to a restaurant and trying a new meal on the menu, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could lead to bubble guts, right? But it could lead to opportunity and expansion. It could lead to, man, I would have never thought to try that, but I'm glad I did. But you know what? I said I was done, and I'm going to be done, because hopefully you are picking up what I am putting down. And that's it. Okay. So this is just my exit, right? If this word has lit a spark in your soul, first and foremost, I need you to share it. I need you to comment. I need you to claim it. And even more so than any of that, I need you to put in the work towards that. What was the key word? Change. Because listen, shifts don't happen unless you make it happen. God is going to meet you halfway, but you got to walk to that door. Okay? So that's it. And if you like this word, if you connect with my energy, if you connect with my delivery of messages, I don't care what it is, then be sure to not only subscribe, like, follow, all those things, but come back and visit and watch for more. There's archives of other messages that are probably for you. And there's going to be a new episode released every single Monday morning at 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, United States. And don't forget to look me up on all of social media. I'm literally everywhere. But when you look me up, I can't say this enough, make sure you find me as Marissa Moments. Now, remember, that is Marissa with one S, because like I always like to say, there is only one me. So thank you for listening. And until next time, happy healing.